All right. Good morning, everybody. How are you today? I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing a little bit better than I am. I am not feeling very well today. We have had illness going around my house, and now I think I have caught it. So please excuse me for not being on camera, but thank you so much for joining us here at Grow the Info, where I support the proliferation of information. So today we're going to be talking about some Benghazi news. Yes, there is new stuff coming out about Benghazi, namely sentencing. So if you want to find all of the links to everything that we're going to go over today, then you can go to our website, growtheinfo.com, and there you'll find a blog post with every single link that I'm about to go through. You can also follow us on Twitter, at growtheinfo is our handle, and also on Instagram. And make sure that you have subscribed by hitting the big red subscribe button, and turn on bell notifications by hitting the bell icon. That way you can be notified whenever we go live. And we are going to be streaming the impeachment hearings later on today as well. They are going to be starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Time and 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. So make sure that you have turned on bell notifications so that you can be notified when we start streaming those. Alrighty, so first, I know we all remember a lot of the hullabaloo about Benghazi, but let's just recap what our president at the time, President Obama, said about the whole situation. Let's just watch his statement to the press. This is obviously September 12th, 2012. You can see it at the bottom there. So let's just recap and refresh, what it was about. Thank you all so much for joining. And by the way, we do have a story at the end about 5 dudes who were operating to get U.S.-made goods to a Pakistan nuclear program. So be sure that you stay tuned until the end of the stream, because that is some very interestingness going on. Thank you so much for joining, everybody, and let's start this clip.
Every day, all across the world, American diplomats and civilians work tirelessly to advance the interests and values of our nation. Often they are away from their families. Sometimes they brave great danger. Yesterday, 4 of these extraordinary Americans were killed in an attack on our diplomatic post in Benghazi. Among those killed was our ambassador, Chris Stevens, as well as Foreign Service Officer Sean Smith. We are still notifying the families of the others who were killed. And today, the American people stand united in holding the families of the 4 Americans in our thoughts and in our prayers. The United States condemns in the strongest terms this outrageous and shocking attack. We're working with the government of Libya to secure our diplomats. I've also directed my administration to increase our security at diplomatic posts around the world. And make no mistake, we will work with the Libyan government to bring to justice the killers who attacked our people. Since our founding, the United States has been a nation that respects all faiths. We reject all efforts to denigrate the religious beliefs of others. But there is absolutely no justification to this type of senseless violence. None. The world must stand together to unequivocally reject these brutal acts. Already, many Libyans have joined us in doing so, and this attack will not break the bonds between the United States and Libya. Libyan security personnel fought back against the attackers alongside Americans. Libyans helped some of our diplomats find safety, and they carried Ambassador Stevens' body to the hospital, where we tragically learned that he had died. It's especially tragic that Chris Stevens died in Benghazi because it is a city that he helped to save. At the height of the Libyan revolution, Chris led our diplomatic post in Benghazi. With characteristic skill, courage, and resolve, he built partnerships with Libyan revolutionaries and helped them as they planned to build a new Libya. When the Gaddafi regime came to an end, Chris was there to serve as our ambassador to the new Libya, and he worked tirelessly to support this young democracy, and I think both Secretary Clinton and I relied deeply on his knowledge of the situation on the ground there. He was a role model to all who worked striving to emerge from the recent experience of war. Today, the loss of these 4 Americans is fresh, but our memories of them linger on. I have no doubt that their legacy will live on through the work that they did far from our shores and in the hearts of those who love them back home. Of course, yesterday was already a painful day for our nation as we marked the solemn memory of the 9/11 attacks. We mourned with the families who were lost on that day. I visited the graves of troops who made the ultimate sacrifice in Iraq and Afghanistan at the hallowed grounds of Arlington Cemetery, and had the opportunity to say thank you and visit some of our wounded warriors at Walter Reed. And then last night, we learned the news of this attack in Benghazi. As Americans, let us never, ever forget that our freedom is only sustained because there are people who are willing to fight for it, to stand up for it, and in some cases, lay down their lives for it. Our country is only as strong as the character of our people and the service of those, both civilian and military, who represent us around the globe. No acts of terror will ever shake the resolve of this great nation, alter that character, or eclipse the light of the values that we stand for. Today we mourn for more Americans who represent the very best of the United States of America. We will not waver in our commitment to see that justice is done for this terrible act, and make no mistake, justice will be done. But we also know that the lives these Americans led stand in stark contrast to those of their attackers. These 4 Americans stood up for freedom and human dignity. They should give every American great pride in the country that they served, and the hope that our flag represents to people around the globe who also yearn to live in freedom and with dignity. We grieve with their families, but let us carry on their memory, and let us continue their work of seeking a stronger America and a better world for all of our children. Thank you, May God bless the memory of those we lost, and may God bless the United States of America.
All right, so that is the press conference, obviously, of when it happened. Again, that was September 12th, 2012, when we found out about that as the public and when he addressed the press. So the new information that has come out, and it's almost 8 years later. I guess it would be September of this year that it would be 8 years, because that happened in 2012 and it's 2020 now. So now, almost 8 years later, they have sentenced Mustafa Al-Imam to more than 19 years in prison. So we are going to go through this, and again, make sure that you have subscribed by hitting the big red subscribe button and turn on bell notifications, and you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and you can check out our website, GOPgov. That's where you can find links to all of the information that we are going to go through. So Mustafa Al-Imam, a 47-year-old Libyan national, was sentenced today, this came out yesterday, Thursday, January 23rd, by the way, to 236 months in prison on federal terrorism charges and other offenses stemming from the September 11th, 2012 terrorist attack on the U.S. Special Mission and CIA Annex in Benghazi, Libya. Ambassador J. Christopher Stevens and U.S. government personnel Sean Smith, Tyrone Woods, and Glenn Doherty died in the attack. The announcement was made by Assistant Attorney General for National Security, John C. Demers. We have not rested in our efforts to bring to justice those involved in the terrorist attacks on our facilities in Benghazi, which led to the death of our 4 courageous Americans, Tyrone Woods, Sean Smith, Glenn Doherty, and Ambassador Christopher Stevens, and we never will, said Assistant Attorney General for National Security, John C. Demers. Those responsible for these crimes must be held accountable. I want to thank the agents, analysts, and prosecutors, and all of their partners in the U.S. government who are responsible for this important investigation. And it, of course, goes on to talk about how they are demonstrating how they're going to keep looking for the people that are involved in this. And we're going to scroll down here. Obviously, they are still working at it. I mean, it's 8 years later, but I guess, slow and steady wins the race. I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, our government likes to take its sweet time with things too, but I don't know. Al-Imam was captured in Libya on October 29, 2017, and brought to the United States to face trial in the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia. He was found guilty by a jury on June 13, 2019, following a 6-week trial of 1 count of conspiracy to provide material support or resources to terrorists and 1 count of maliciously destroying and injuring dwellings and property and placing lives in jeopardy within the special maritime and territorial jurisdiction of the United States. He was sentenced by the Honorable Christopher R. Cooper. Let me make sure you guys are able to see this. Okay, hold on. Nope, that's not going to be any better. I think you guys are on the best view that I can provide of it. Again, if you want to read through this, if it's hard for you to read it or anything, then the links are on our website, GOPgov. According to the government's evidence, on the night of September 11, 2012, a group of extremists armed with AK-47 rifles, grenades, and other weapons swept into the U.S. Special Mission in Benghazi, setting fires and breaking into buildings. During that violence, Ambassador Stevens, Mr. Smith, and Diplomatic Security Service Special Agent Scott Wickland valiantly tried to protect themselves when the attackers stormed into the ambassador's residence, sheltering in a secure area. However, when the attackers could not gain entry to the secure area, the attackers set fire to the residence. Ambassador Stevens and Mr. Smith suffocated from the thick black smoke that enveloped the residence. Special Agent Wickland, who tried to guide them to safety, was injured and repeatedly took small arms fire while trying to rescue Ambassador Stevens and Mr. Smith. Al-Imam arrived at the mission shortly after the attack began, accompanying Ahmed Abu Khatala and leader or the leader of the extremist militia named Abadai, I can't say that, Benjara, and one of the planners of the attack. During the attack on the mission, Al-Imam maintained contact with Katala in a series of cell phone calls, including an 18-minute phone call that took place during the height of the attack. Remember, that's that phone call that we've all heard a lot about. Members of the Abidya, I can't say that, Benjara, as well as other extremist groups, were caught on surveillance video attacking the mission. After the American security personnel withdrew from the mission, Al-Imam, Katala, and several UBJ members and other extremists entered the mission's office and removed sensitive information, including maps and other documents related to the location of the CIA's annex in Benghazi. Following the attack on the mission in the early hours of September 12, 2012, the violence continued at the CIA annex, first with gunfire and then with a precision mortar attack. While defending the annex, Mr. Woods, Mr. Doherty, DSS Special Agent David Ubben, and CIA Security Specialist Mark Teagan were hit by a precision mortar attack, leading to the deaths of Mr. Woods and Mr. Doherty. Special Agent Ubben and Mr. Teagan were seriously wounded but survived. The case was investigated by FBI's New York Field Office with substantial assistance from various other government agencies. Of course, the Department of Defense, States Diplomatic Security Service. So they have been working on this for a long time, and they have now sentenced this dude, Mustafa Al-Imam, to 19 years in prison. So it took them a while, but they got to it. They just declared him guilty in 2019. They said, where was the date? It was June 2019. I think that's what it said. I can't find it now. And he was captured in Libya on October 27th, or October 29th, 2017, brought to the United States to face trial in the District Court of Columbia, found guilty by a jury on June 13th, 2019. So it took them quite a while, even after they brought him here, to declare him guilty, and then now even to sentence him, because that was in June, and it's January now. So it's been over 6 months since they declared him guilty that they have been waiting to sentence him. And if you guys want more information on the whole Benghazi thing, sometimes when you're Googling that stuff, the search results are so saturated with, of course, mainstream media, and then all of the, the fringe and the truthers, and everybody putting their information out there too. It's hard to find, like, the old documents and stuff. I had a really hard time. I was trying to find the hearing transcript from when Dempsey and the other dude were speaking at the committee hearing, and I could not find it. I found a couple transcripts from before the hearing that I was looking for, and I couldn't find it. There were plenty of news results, but one resource that I did find for a lot of the older information that is still out there on Benghazi is on GOPgov. And I thought you guys might also get a kick out of this. On the GOP.gov websites, they have, I'm sure you can see how it's scrolling. So they have the header and the footer, right? And the footer is just a big bar that says 121 days, 19 hours, 4 minutes, 20 seconds since Speaker Pelosi and House Democrats have been obsessed with impeaching the president instead of working to solve problems for the American people. So that's what their gigantic footer is, and you have to close it to be able to really see anything on their website. I thought that was quite amusing. But if you want some of the old information on Benghazi, you can go to gop.gov/solution_content/Benghazi, or you can just go to our website, growtheinfo.com, and you can find a link to it in our blog section where we have everything linked for the video today. But you can see here they have the reports, the old interim reports that were issued in 2014, 2013. Those have to do with the investigations of course, and then if you scroll down even farther, then they do have some transcripts, and they have all kinds of other information. This is, I mean, they have like everything listed right here still. So if you are wanting to dive into the Benghazi, black rabbit hole, then that's where you can find a lot of the information. And then, of course, the press release that I just went over that had to do with the sentencing that happened yesterday, that is also linked on our website as well. So make sure that you check that out. When you look at our blog post, it's these links. There's the Mustafa Al-Imam one, and the GOPgov is the bottom one. Okie dokie. So thank you all for joining. That's the Benghazi stuff. Welcome, Bo. Welcome, Carolyn. How are you guys doing? Thank you so much for joining. You guys are awesome. Awesome possums. Okay, the next story. The next thing. My brain is shutting off because I am not feeling well. Okay, 2 individuals sentenced in connection with work on behalf of Iran. This is from January 15th, 2020. I might have actually gone over this in a previous video. I don't know. I just saw it and I was like, I don't think I covered that. So, okay, I can't say this guy's name. Ahmed Riza, I can't say his name. 39, a dual U.S.-Iranian citizen, and Mahid, I can't say his last name, 60, an Iranian citizen and resident of California, have been sentenced to prison terms of 38 months and 30 months respectively for their criminal convictions relating to their conducting surveillance of and collecting identifying information about American citizens and U.S. nationals who are members of the group. I can't say that either. MEK. Okay, thank you for the abbreviation. On January 15th, 2020, the Honorable Paul L. Friedman sentenced Dustard to a prison term of 38 months, 36 months of supervised release, and a fine of $14,000, 153. Gorbani was sentenced to a prison term of 30 months and 36 months of supervised release. October 29th, Dustard, that's a horrible last name, entered guilty pleas to 1 count of acting as an agent of the government of Iran without notifying the Attorney General, in violation of U.S. Code, that one, and 1 count of conspiring to violate that statute in a violation of this other U.S. Code. Gorbani entered a guilty plea to 1 count of willfully violating the International Emergency Economic Powers Acts and the Iranian Transactions and Sanctions Regulations. This case illustrates Iran's targeting of Americans in the United States in order to silence those who oppose the Iranian regime or otherwise further its goals, said Assistant Attorney General for National Security John C. Demers. The defendants working for Iran gathered information on Americans that could then be used by the Iranian intelligence services to intimidate or harm them or their families. These prosecutions should serve as a reminder to anyone here working covertly for Iran that the American law enforcement will pursue you to protect this country, its citizens, and the First Amendment principles upon which it was founded. And we have, of course, seen them going after a lot of people that they find are working with different terrorist organizations. They keep, like the FBI is getting into contact with these people and pretending like they want to work with these terrorists, and then they just get all the information and charge them. So they're coming for ya. The FBI, they're good at playing this game. As part of his plea, Dustard admitted under oath that he traveled to the United States from Iran on 3 occasions in order to meet with Gorbani and to convey directions for Gorbani's activities on behalf of the government of Iran. Prior to his first trip to the United States, his handler with the government of Iran identified Gorbani by name, showed him a photograph of Gorbani, and told him where he worked. So just like a spy movie, being like, here's your contact, go find this dude. go find them and say this secret phrase, the snake has landed in the orange juice or whatever. During Dudster's first trip to the United States, he met with him and admitted that during a subsequent conversation, Ghorbanī told Dudster that he was willing to work for the government of Iran. September 2017, Ghorbanī attended a rally in New York organized by the MEK. The rally consisted of constitutionality protected activity, including U.S. citizens denouncing the Iranian regime. At the rally, Ghorbanī photographed rally attenders, including MEK leaders. Okay, now you guys, I want you to pay attention to the fact that he was photographing them, because we have done that hearing recently on facial recognition. And even the Chicago PD, there was some police department that was taking pictures of people that were at that Freddie Gray rally. Wasn't that what it was? And they were comparing their photos to like other pictures in their database, and they were trying to go after people and charge people. And of course we know that the facial recognition thing is not super reliable. They can make mistakes. So they were just like, using excuses to be able to harass people. And we see that that's something that authoritarian regimes and, terrorist organizations and stuff can use. They could use facial recognition to be able to do that. They take your picture when you're at a rally, and then they can find out a whole bunch of stuff about you. In December 2017, during Dudster's second trip to the United States, as part of the conspiracy, he met with Ghorbanī and collected the rally photographs. The photographs depicted MEK leaders and included handwritten notes identifying the individuals and listing their positions in the group. Under oath, Ghorbanī admitted to attending the September 2017 MEK rally and photographing and gathering the information. Dudster paid Ghorbanī $2,000 for his work, which he admitted had been provided by Dudster's government of Iran handler. So the government was providing the money for this to happen. So this was, directly out of the hand of government. It's not just individuals being extremists. I mean, it is, but with the government. During this December 2017 trip, Ghorbanī and Dudster also discussed Ghorbanī's planned travel to Iran in March 2018. Ghorbanī offered to provide an in-person briefing on rally attendees during this trip. Later in December 2017, Dudster departed the United States for Iran with the photographs and handwritten notes. In May 2018, Ghorbanī traveled to another MEK rally, this time in Washington, D.C., where he again collected information. Following that rally, Dudster admitted that he and Ghorbanī spoke by telephone and discussed the methods that Ghorbanī conducting and relating with the government. The government was paying somebody to work with this dude, and for all of the expenses incurred and everything. That's craziness. Bo says, I like OJ, snakes not so much. Yeah, I'm okay with snakes. Yes, you get to be opossums. Alright, so let's go on to the next story. I have to start the impeachment trial stream in like about 30 minutes, I think I have scheduled for. So, alright, maybe I will this one is linked, but I'm probably just going to skip through this really quickly because I do want to find more information about this. And it's really weird in how they word stuff anyway. So this came out January 15th as well. The Department of Justice announces enhancements to the risk assessment system and updates on first step action implementation. So what this has to do with is programs that they want to put people who are incarcerated by the FBI, they want to put them through reintegration programs, which is great and wonderful, and I think that they do need to do more to help these people reintegrate back into society. But in the Bureau of Prisons, sorry, not charged by the FBI, in the Bureau of Prisons. But have you guys ever seen Clockwork Orange? Have you guys seen Clockwork Orange? Like, that's because it says, in accordance with the First Step Act and due on January 15th, 2020, all inmates of the Bureau of Prison Systems have received an initial assessment using the Justice's Department Risk and Needs Assessment tool. As of January 15th, inmates will be assigned to participate in evidence-based recidivism reduction programs and productive activities based on an initial needs assessment conducted by BOP. Participation and completion of those assigned programs and activities can lead to placement in pre-release custody. So if you go along with whatever they're trying to do to you. In response to the public comments received and in coordination with the Independent Review Committee, the Justice Department has made changes to Pattern that enhance its effectiveness, fairness, and transparency. These changes had only a slight effect on Pattern's high level of predictability and include adding a dynamic measure of offenders' infraction-free period during his or her current term of incarceration. I'm getting tongue-tied. Hold on. I gotta get a sip of water. I'm sorry. All right. Modifying programming measures by adding psychology treatment programs. And then it goes on to say Bureau Rehabilitation and Values Enhancement Program. Challenge Skills Program, Sex Offender Treatment, both residential and non-residential. Step Towards Awareness, Growth, and Emotional Strength Program. Step Down programs. So have you guys seen Clockwork Orange? The department will also begin a pilot program to publish recidivism data and other First Step Act updates on a quarterly basis. So I want to find out more information about this because it for real made me think of Clockwork Orange. When I read that, I was like, what? Alright, so let's go on to the next thing. Alright, so this is the story about Pakistan's nuclear program. 5 men have been indicted for operating an international procurement network to export U.S. origin goods to Pakistan's nuclear program. Again, this was Wednesday, January 15th. 5 men, all associated with the front company Business World in Rawalpindi, Pakistan, and including Muhammad Kamranwali and all of these other dudes, some from the United Kingdom too, were indicted in federal court for conspiracy to violate the International Emergency Economic Powers Act and the Export Control Reform Act. The grand jury returned the indictment on October 16th, 2019, and it was unsealed on Wednesday, January 15th. The defendants smuggled U.S. origin goods to entities that have been designated for years as threats to U.S. national security for their ties to Pakistan's weapons program. So this is a summary that you can go through, but I have the white papers pulled up here, and we're going to go through them fairly quickly because my head is killing me. Thank you guys for joining still, though, and hitting that like button and everything. You guys are awesome. You're wonderful. I love you all. Okay. So these are the white papers that have to do with the case. And you can find this by just clicking on the link on the bottom of the press release. Down here, there's a link to the PDF for the whole white paper document. So at the beginning, it's just talking about the different names of the companies, and it goes on to list like every single email address that the dude ever used in connection with these companies. Well, all of the dudes. There were 5 of them. So they go on to talk about the licenses that should have been used and all of the claims and everything. I'm going to scroll down to where it actually talks about what they did. Okay, so the object of the conspiracy. The object of the conspiracy was to operate an international procurement network of front companies that existed to acquire U.S. origin goods for the Advanced Engineering Research Organization and the Pakistan Atomic Energy Commission, which at all times material to this indictment were on the entity list, and to cause those goods to be exported from the United States to those entities without export licenses. A further object of the conspiracy was to conceal... my head hurts so bad, I am so sorry. A further object of the conspiracy was to conceal the true destination in Pakistan of the U.S. origin goods by using the conspirators' network of front companies. So remember I said they listed a whole bunch of companies and email addresses that this dude was using and everything. So he was like sending, this invoice to that company and that company's invoice to another company, and that way, like, all of things get lost in the paperwork, It was part of the manner and means of the conspiracy that Kamran, using the front company Business World, located in Rawalpindi, Pakistan, would initially receive orders for needed U.S. goods from these companies, and then him and other co-conspirators would either contact U.S. companies directly or pass the orders to U.S. vendors through the network's front companies. The defendants and other co-conspirators would, via correspondence and communications with U.S. companies, cause the needed goods to be either exported directly to Pakistan or transshipped to Pakistan through a third company without export licenses. In their correspondence and communications with U.S. companies, the defendants and co-conspirators would sometimes use assumed names, would pretend that the buyer and end user of the goods was one of the network's front companies or another shell entity, and would conceal that the true end user of the goods was Aero or PAEC. Cameron and other conspirators would obtain funding to purchase the needed goods from Aero and related entities using accounts in the name of Business World. Funds from those accounts would be periodically wired to accounts in the name of the Business World in Canada. And it goes on to it has a whole chart here of the different companies and everything and what they were shipping. So there's a helium leak detector, coaxial connectors, aircraft parts, electronic connectors, a nano board, like there's all kinds of stuff, power sensors, firing modules, all kinds of crazy stuff that they were shipping over there. And remember, we're concerned right now, our government is concerned anyway, about like Iran's nuclear program and other third world countries. My head hurts so bad. Getting technology into their hands that we don't want them to have. So that's why we have certain sanctions against like companies that are sending our stuff over there. That's why they have stricter licenses and all those kinds of things. So these people were just going all around that and shipping a whole bunch of high-tech stuff right on over there. And remember, a lot of countries over there kind of...
cheese.
Go ahead, bud. You know where it is. Go ahead. A lot of countries over there trade goods and stuff. Sometimes they feel like they're forced to because of terrorism that's happening. So, crazy stuff. And it talks about more unlicensed exports. Like there was so much stuff that they sent over there, you guys. Look at this list. It just goes on and on.
Well, if you ask it.
Okay. I don't think he wants it, but okay. Alright, so that is what I wanted to go over today. Again, the links to all of this stuff are on our website, growtheinfo.com. Right here is where you can get all of the links. And we even have a link on there to the video that we showed of the Benghazi clip at the beginning of the stream. So make sure you check that out. Make sure that you're subscribed and turn on bell notifications, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. @GrowTheInfo is our handle. And we are going to be streaming the impeachment hearings in like, I don't know, I think I'm supposed to start the stream in like 20 minutes. So that way it gets up and going and everything. So that's what I'm going to be doing. What are you guys doing for the rest of the day? Anything fun? Anything crazy? I hope you're all having a wonderful day. We have 4 viewers. Awesome. Thank you guys for joining. All of you lurkers too. We love you. Each and every moment that you spend here, every time you hit the thumbs up button, every time that you share the stream with somebody else, it really does help to grow the info and to proliferate information, which is what I am all about. Okay. Yes, super fun impeachment time. Thank you for joining, Afraid Angel. Yay, super fun impeachment time. Oh my gosh, they just keep repeating the same things over and over and over again. Thank you guys so much for joining. I'm going to go ahead and get off here so I can get that stream up and started for you guys. If you want to watch that. Yeah, you can eat the string cheese. Go ahead. And I'm going to go take care of my kids who are being very needy today. Thank you everybody so much. I hope you have a wonderful day. Let's go out with a tune or two.